I want to apologize for yesterday's video. I was wrong and the devs have fixed the game. Let's go ahead and read some patch notes, shall we? The amount of heavily armored targets that spawn on higher difficulties, especially for Terminids, have been a big discussion point online and internally. The intent is for groups to bring some form of anti-tank capability, but not to the degree previously needed. To that end, we have reduced the spawn rate of Chargers and Battle Titans on difficulties 7 and up. In addition, we have reduced the risk of spawn spikes of Chargers and Battle Titans. Please note that we have changed the distribution of enemy types. What could that possibly mean? Not reduced difficulty. Expect other enemy types to appear in greater numbers instead. So for folks that love playing against hunters because they're super balanced and enjoyable, they slow you, they almost one-shot you, there's more of those now. Awesome change. We are humbled by the community's ability to find things like Chargers leg meta in our game. However, spending your heavy anti-tank weapons on legs instead of the obvious weak point seems counter to expectation. We're not changing anything regarding the Charger's legs. We are, however, lowering the health of the Charger's head. It should now be at a point where a well-placed shot from a recoilless rifle or eat it instantly kills a Charger, which it does, and it feels great. Together with the unfortunately undocumented change of last patch that increased the armor penetration ability of less well-placed shots for eat its and recoilless rifle shots, Chargers should now be easier to handle by well-equipped groups. Except you're getting jumped on by 1,000 freaking hunters every 2 seconds, but moving on. Gameplay. Electronic countermeasures. Operation modifier, which had a chance of giving you random stratagem instead of the one you input, has been removed in order to be reworked, and we will be reintroducing it in the future iterations. We found that this modifier wasn't communicated clearly enough and overall caused more frustration than excitement with the way it was currently implemented. If that's why we're changing things because it's not causing excitement, I got some news for y'all about the recent patches. This change was made in 1.000.1.00, but was unintentionally omitted from the patch notes. What about the other stuff? What about the other things that were unintentionally or intentionally omitted from the other patch notes? We talking about that yet? Or are we just gonna gloss over it? That's crazy. And then they fixed a bunch of bugs. I'm getting comments in the last video saying, this video was a little unfortunately timed. They fixed all the issues, yo, crybaby. Hey, what issues, bro? Did you not watch last video? I mentioned I don't mind the heavy or elite spawns. What I minded was not having the ability to handle them. And even they mentioned that in these patch notes. And their solution was to decrease the spawn rates instead of actually making it so weapons could handle these monsters. And what that means is the most annoying thing, or one of the most annoying things, is going to get worse. That is the hunters that I showcased at the beginning of the other video that could jump on you from Narnia, headshot you, and you're almost dead. And I didn't even mention it, but they can slow you down, which is a very egregious slow. And then they can just spam attack you. They're freaking spamming why. They're just baiting you, bruv. So what got fixed? Realistically, it's cool they buffed the eat it, but it doesn't solve the problem. They did add a new mode, which is kind of sick. But it also feels like a hunter's paradise because now they're spawning like crazy and our primary weapons are not that good. They're objectively terrible, if we're being honest. The damage they deal to most monsters is laughable, and the ones that are good against the more big monsters that aren't actually big, they can't handle the smaller monsters. And you need to shoot the small dudes given how many are spawning with the recent changes. So I just fail to see how the new patch fixed the problems I had in the old video. Also considering I believe headshot damage is still the same. We're getting a headshot like crazy, more consistently than ever. So what really changed? Y'all saw a patch and just said, oh, it's fixed. The real fix is going back to what we had before when virtually everyone loved the game and building upon that, adding difficulty in ways that are meaningful. There's actually methods you can go about doing this that makes sense. But the thing is, it was so good, they had a 4% reduction in player base after like a month or so. And then they make these changes and they didn't even tell you about them. They kept them a secret. Does that not raise alarm bells? Slightly. That's not a problem at all. We're cool with that entirely. That's called being brainwashed. Before I say more, I am still enjoying this game a little bit. But before the patch happened, I was enjoying it so much it would blow your mind. I was so excited every day to play. And other folks feel the same way. It's not just me crying and complaining because, oh, the game changed and I can't handle it. Which People were so hung up on that. Like, he's mad he can't solo Helldive anymore. I never said I couldn't. I said that I enjoyed solo Helldive before the patch, which I did 3 whole times. I solo Helldived on purpose 3 whole times. When I play solo in this game, most of the time, it's getting footage for videos to make guides, most of which have been for non-meta weapons. So the folks call me a meta slave or meta one trick. You guys are brainless. Look at the videos. And it's crazy too, the effort I put into making these videos and not just saying this works this way and being wrong like most folks are. Zero appreciation from, like, not zero. It's just brutal, bro, for no reason. These days, you can't say anything remotely negative or point out any flaws and give critiques to a game without folks calling you a crybaby, a whinger, a moaner, blah, 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 blah. Even if you're still enjoying the game and just wanting to do well. Just like if I was making positive videos all the time. You're just getting paid to say these things. You're shilling. Where's the disclosure of the hashtag ad, bro? And I expect some of these comments, like I may have mentioned before, but the amount I'm getting is driving me nuts. And I post on TikTok too, and it's worse there. At least it was. The recent video on YouTube is very interesting because these gamers have this awful view of difficulty. You shouldn't be able to solo Helldive. Why? It's a very arbitrary goal to set. You realize that folks are immensely better at games than you. So saying that you shouldn't be able to do this thing, you could make that happen. You could make it impossible. That would be horrendous forms of arbitrary difficulty, though, which is not good. But that's the view that folks have. It's also the view that the devs have, apparently. They're changing difficulty based on numbers and graphs and the amount of folks that are doing Helldive successfully. And they're doing it in the most lazy way possible, cranking a slider. I understand the game is maybe a month old, but these changes are not it, especially when you don't tell the players about what you're changing when it's this drastic, and then you gaslight them into thinking that they're just bad. Skill issue. You changed so many things and didn't tell us. What do you mean skill issue? Y'all got a freaking patch note writing issue? Oh, we unintentionally omitted this. What the? So I'm guessing you intentionally omitted all the other stuff, and that's just fine. And then you tell players, oh, it's a skill issue. You know, like the game didn't change that much. You're just bad. Not verbatim, by the way, but that's essentially what happened. And you get praise. But people don't have a problem with that. We just have patch notes that do not tell the full story or even close to it. There was more changes that weren't listed than the ones that were listed. And those changes that weren't listed were major. Whatever. Whatever, man. The game is still... It's still a game. I'll see how I feel. I don't plan to just keep posting negative content either, by the way. This is not me intentionally trying to be negative. This is just me caring. Like, truthfully, it's just me. It's frustrating. Should be obvious that it's a frustrating thing to deal with in gaming. And I'm just sick of seeing games that are good being ran to the ground for no good reason. They have got to figure it out. We need like a training course for these freaking people. Hey, your game's doing great. How about you don't pile drive it 6 feet deep, please? Simple.